Greetings, 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 divine greetings. Ankh Uja Seneb, life, vitality, and health. To all of you who have decided to join us on this most auspicious and holy day, the birth of Heru, the Mesut Ra. The Mesut Heru, which is fine because Heru is the image of Ra. It's also the birth of Christ. So we are actually going to show how Christ, the birth of Christ, actually derived from this very auspicious day, which is also the birth of Heru, and also the birth of just about every other Messiah and every other religious tradition. We are going to formally go through a spiritual practice to observe this wonderful, auspicious, powerful day. And I have an amazing group of people on here. They are all members of the Arat RA Reiki family. They are also Arat RA Reiki practitioners. And for those of you who don't know, I am Aset Hetep, and I am the founder of Arat RA Reiki. And so I want to go ahead and introduce the other wonderful souls that will be joining in on this wonderful observance of the birthday of Heru.
Sem Nukpu Herit Akimra.
Dua.
Hotel Dua Rakepi Pata.
Dua.
Uja, everyone. I'm Nikabet.
Dua. All right, so we have a wonderful treat in store for you, and let's go ahead and get in. I want you to all feel encouraged to participate. We will be doing some Kemetic chants in the Kemetic tongue to the best of our ability, and a lot of it will be call and response, and you can chime in and join in. It's not about being 100% accurate, but it's the effort. So if you are putting your energy into saying the chants with us, then that is more than you need. All right, so officially we don't begin or start until we do a libation. And so we are going to open up officially by doing the libation. And I have translated a libation into the Kemetic tongue. So I will be translating it in and out while I'm doing it. So let's jump into that. I pour a libation in honor of the all-encompassing Creator, Nebuchadnezzar. Tuaim Nectar Atum Ra, in honor of Atum Ra. Tuaim Neterit Noon, in honor of Neterit Noon. Tuaim Inter Te. Tuaim Interit Tehet. Tuaim Inter Tet. Tuaim Interit Tehet. Tuaim Neter Amun. Tuaim Interit Amunet. Tuaim Inter Shut. Tuaim Neterit Tefnut. Tuaim Inter Yer. Tuaim Interit Nut. Tuaim Interit Aset. Tuaim Inter Asar. Tuaim Neterit Nebehet. Tuaim Inter Set. Tuaim Neter Harut. Tuaim Nuk Set Tuaim Neteru Shilpa Moya. I pour libation in honor of the Neteru of water. Tuaim Neteru Shilpa Na'ar. I pour libation in honor of the Neterit of fire. Tuaim Neterit shil pa hawu. I pour libation in honor of the Neterit of the air. Tuaim Neterit shil pa ta. I pour libation in honor of the Neterit of the earth. Nukset Tuaim shepsu aku. I pour libation in honor of the glorious ancestors. Dua, dua, dua. It's kept, it's kept, it's kept. Now that we have poured the libation and opened in a respectful manner by honoring the Creator, manifesting everywhere and in all things, and by pouring water in honor of those manifestations, the Neteru that exemplify different aspects of the Creator and that assist us in our spiritual evolutionary process. A tap.
Opening the worship by first, we must posture in front of the altar and of the divine. Opening the worship by uncovering the altar symbolizes the removal of the veil of ignorance of the higher self. Lighting the candle, symbolizing the Ampu, or divine light within that is to be awakened. Lighting the incense, symbolizing the fragrance of your personality, which will exude with a divine odor that will rise up and attract as well as commune with the divine. Libations. Pour purified water from a container to another receptacle. Pour continuously, silent, symbolizing the one pointed flow of your consciousness with divine consciousness. Place offerings, fruit, or vegetables in front of the altar, symbolizing the offering of one's duality, lower and higher self, for non-dual consciousness.
We will now recite the offering prayer together. It'll be call and response. So if you're in the audience, feel free to respond with the group. Hotepti nesu netera.
Hotepti nesu netera.
Ampu erat netajasa.
Ampu
Perkeru kakape. Sinetu ahari makeru. Hotep di nesu netera.
Hotep di Netera.
Anpu epwat neta jesa.
Ampu Neta Jesa.
Kerkeru kakape.
Perkeru Kakape.
Sinetir ahari ma'akeru.
Sinete Ari Maakeru.
Hotep di nesu netera.
Hotep di Sinetera.
Anpu epwat neta jesa.
Ampu Neta Jesa.
Kerkeru kakape.
Perkeru Kakape.
Sinetir ahari ma'akeru.
Sinete Ari Maakeru.
Hotep di nesu netera.
Hotep di Sinete Nesera.
Anpu epwat neta jesa.
Ampu Wetwat Neta Jese.
Kerkeru kakape.
Perkeru Kakape.
Sinetir ahari ma'akeru.
Sinete Ari Maakeru.
Translation. Offerings given to the Supreme Divinity and to Anpu and Webwat, Lord of the Sacred Land. The spoken offering is 1,000 beef maleness and 1,000 geese femaleness. This causes the divine to make one true of speech. Tap. We will now recite 4 great truths. These 4 great truths actually are like morsels. They're like the ingredients to a recipe that will help us when we are trying to figure out how do we begin to transition from this mortal, troubled self into this higher, centered, grounded self. And so when we recite these 4 great truths, I want you to really listen to them. Even before you hear the English translation, just feel the vibrational frequency of them. And then when you hear the English translation, I want you to try to store those meanings in your heart, because as you're moving through life and you're continuing to evolve, I want you to know that you have the recipe, the ingredients for what you will need to add into your life in order to start transforming into your higher self. Pa neter ua never jarem neteru.
Panete Neteru.
Pa neter ua never jarem Neterit.
Neterit.
Neter ua never Neterit. Neter ua never Neterit. Neter ua never Neterit. Translation. The Neter, the Supreme Being, is one and alone and is Nebuchadnezzar, manifesting everywhere and in all things in the forms of gods and goddesses. On my heart, sweet you said, Sekhmet.
Sweet you said, Sekhmet.
On my heart, sweet you said, Sekhmet.
Sweet you said, Sekhmet.
On my heart, 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 sweet you said, Sekhmet.
Translation. Lack of righteousness brings specters to the personality, and these specters cause ignorance of the divine. So the divine self and divine manifesting as the creator. And so fetters are desires of the lower nature. Fetters are those things that cause us to vibrate on a low frequency. So jealousy, hatred, anger, envy, low self-esteem, right? All of those negative vibrational frequencies are classified as fetters. And that truth is telling us that those are the things that causes us to have this separation, this ignorance of our true self, our divine self, and the supreme divinity, and the divinity in one another. Say you washu, say nafu, and you said.
Say you are shoes, Sinafu, and so you say.
Say you washu, say nafu, and you said.
Say you are shoes, Sinafu, and so you say.
Say you washu, say nafu, and sa you say.
Say you are shoes, not food. That's how you say.
Say you washu, say nafu, and sa you say.
Say you are shoes, not food. That's how you say.
Translation. Devotion to the divine leads to the freedom from the fetters of Set. So the truth before that one told us what the fetters are, right? And how they disrupt our ability to see the divine self and to manifest the divine self. And then this precept tells you what's required to remove the fetters. It tells you that devotion to the divine, so having the desire to want to remove the fetters, right? Because you love the creator, because you love the divine, because you love righteousness, is an important ingredient in the recipe if we are sincerely trying to evolve spiritually, to manifest Heru, to give birth to the Messiah within. Adi Shetty Rekab Keru.
Ari
Shetty rock up Makaru.
Ari Shetty Rekab Keru.
Ari Shetty rock up Makaru.
Adi Shetty Rekab Keru.
Ari Shetty rock up Makaru.
Adi Shetty Rekab Keru.
Ari Shetty rock up Makaru.
The practice of the Shetty disciplines leads to knowing oneself and the divine. This is called being true of speech. And so that final ingredient tells us that once the devotion sets in, we're going to have to do some work. And that is the practice of the Shetty disciplines. So what are Shetty disciplines? Shetty disciplines are engaging in disciplines or practices that's going to help to feed and nurture Heru, that's going to feed and nurture this wonderful divine being that is in us, that is a direct emulation, a direct reflection of the creator, right? And we call the creator as the sustainer and creator of life, Ra. And so Heru is the symbolic son of the creator, not the male child as an S-O-N, but the S-U-N, because it is the bright essence, the manifestation and all righteousness and all golden gloriness of the creator. So that is a part of what the original observation of this time period was about. And if you didn't watch my short talk on the winter solstice, please do that, because that will help explain why we are doing what we're doing today. So there you have it. You have 4 major ingredients that you can begin to play with and utilize and put in your toolkit as you are going into this next year with your desire, right, towards the divine, and you're focusing your impetus to evolve spiritually. Not just to talk about it, right? Not to romanticize about it, but to be about it. What we're doing now is a Shetty practice. What we have here is an altar. So you can't see it because the altar is due east, right? That is the proper place where the altar should be. So even though I would like you all to see it, if I face it towards you all, then I would be out of divine alignment. That wouldn't be Ma'at. So we have on this altar that's due east, the image of Heru. This is not my personal altar. This is an altar that I created for public use so that we can do this very public and loving observance of Heru. However, I have my private altars in my private temple space that, of course, would have to remain private. So again, this is a public altar. And so having an altar where you can go to and do work, do reflection, do meditation on the higher self is a part of the Shetty disciplines that last truth talked about. Engaging in meditation, learning how to meditate, engaging in healthy dietary practices, eating foods that have more life in it so that you can have more life in your body, feeding your mind things through entertainment, through reading that are going to help cultivate the higher self, right? As opposed to the things that's going to keep the higher self oppressed by the ego self, right? The lower self. And so there's a lot of things that we can do that would fall under the umbrella of the Shetty practices. And so this is one of them. If you want more guidance, you can always reach out to me through my website, arat.reiki.com. And tap. All right. We'll move into the next portion.
Okay.
And that question will be led by Ra.
All right. Divine greetings, family. All right, next we will invoke the assistance of the Neterit or cosmic force, which removes obstacles to our success in spiritual practice. Ampu is the Neter which leads souls through the narrow pathway of the Duat. Therefore, request the assistance of Ampu, who represents the discriminative intellectual ability so that we may distinguish the real from the unreal. O Ampu, O Ampuwa, O Ampu, opener of the ways, the roads of the north. O Ampu, opener of the ways, the roads of the south, the messenger between heaven and hell, displaying alternately a face black as night and golden as the day. He is equally watchful by day and as by night. May Ampu make my thighs firm so that I may stand upon them. I have washed myself in the water wherein the god Ampu washed when he performed the office of embalmer and bandager. My lips are the lips of Ampu.
We will pause for a silent moment of reflection and meditation on the hymn to Ampu. And we opened with that hymn to Ampu because Ampu and Ampuat is just one of the examples of the construct of duality. And so as long as we are living in this realm, time and space, everything here will have an opposing force. Nothing in time and space exists without its opposing force. And we're saying opposing, but it's actually kind of complementary, right? Because if you take hot and you get rid of cold, how do you define hot, right? So the same thing within us. We have opposing forces. We have the lower self, which is the ego self, right? The ego self is concerned about the I. What can I get out of life, right? It's concerned with feeling good. It's concerned with, things that are in its own best interest. And then we have this higher self. And the higher self is concerned with the all. It's concerned with the we. It wants to reconnect to divine consciousness. It wants to be in peace and harmony with itself, right? With its own ego and with everyone else. It wants to be in harmony with the land, with the earth, with the animals, right? With the creator. But once we are born into time and space, this is the realm of the ego. And the ego we refer to as Setuk or Set. And Set is extremely powerful. When you read Kemetic scripture, it talks about how powerful Set is. And this is Set's domain. So if we want to overcome the ego, we have to employ strategies and techniques. And the Neterit help us to do that. And so Ampu represents one of the first things that we will need to develop. And that's the ability to discern between the ego and between the higher self, between righteousness and unrighteousness, right? And so that's why we work with that energy to help us begin to see ourselves for who and what we truly are. So Dua Ampu.
Dua Ampu.
Next, we will recite the hymn to Aset, and I will read that. So next, we will invoke the presence of Neterit Aset Ma'at, who is the embodiment of wisdom and inner discovery of the divine. Aset is the mother of the universe, and she herself veils her true form as the supreme transcendental self. This veil of ignorance is only due to ignorance. Therefore, pray to Aset to make her presence, which bestows instant revelation of her true form. This unveiling is a metaphor symbolizing the intuitional revelation of the divine or enlightenment in your mind. Aset is in your heart and only needs to be revealed. However, she can only reveal herself to the true aspirant, one who is devoted to her, which is being devoted to the self and her alone. Aset says, I, Aset, am all that has been, all that is, all shall be, and no mortal man hath unveiled me. O benevolent Aset, who protected her brother Asar, who searched for him without wearying, who traversed the land in morning and never rested until she had found him. She who afforded him showers with her wings and gave him air with her feathers, who rejoiced and carried her brother home. She who revived what was faint for the weary one, who received his seed and conceived an heir, and who nourished him in solitude while no one knew where he was. Aset saith, I have come to be a protector unto thee. I waft unto thee air for thy nostrils, and the north wind which cometh forth from the god Tim unto thy nose. I have made whole for thee thy windpipe. I make thee to live like a god. Thy enemies have fallen under thy feet, and I have made thy words to be true before Nut, and thou art mighty before the gods and goddesses. We will pause for a brief reflection and meditation on Neterit goddess Aset. All praise is due to goddess Aset.
Next, we will invoke the presence of Neterit Sekhmet, who is the embodiment of protection over the children of Ra, who are those that assume the role of Heru as the falcon rising above unrighteousness and vice. On this Mesut Heru we say, O Sekhmet of yesterday, Wajet of today, you have come And you have made prosperous this offering table of the living falcon, who is Heru, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, representing the upper and lower self, according to the things that you do for your father, Ra, when you come forth from Buto. Protect the living falcon, the sons and daughters of Ra, that we may live forever, the beloved of Ptah, King Heru on earth, with that papyrus wand of life in thy hand, in thy name of Wajet. Shoot thine arrow at all the victuals of those who shall speak any malicious word against the living falcon. Let a slaughter be made of them, like as when thou didst prevail over the enemies of Ra in the primordial age, in that thy name of Sekhmet. Thy offering belongs to the living falcon, Heru. He is Ra, from whom thou comest forth. O Sekhmet, shoot thine arrow at all the enemies of the living falcon. O Bastet, mayest thou draw out their hearts so that they may be assigned to the brazier of Heru, who devours meat pieces. These are the words of Sekhmet. Mine arrow shall not miss them. I am Sekhmet, who prevaileth over 1,000,000. I have shot at all the enemies of the living falcon, the living hawk, Heru. Heru, the protection power of Sekhmet surrounds the flesh of the living falcon with the completeness of life. To us.
We'll pause for brief reflection and meditation on the hymn to Sekhmet. Duas, Neterit, Sekhmet. And before we move on, I just want to talk and brief about the significance of Neterit Aset and Neterit Sekhmet in the life of those who are sincerely working towards resurrecting the Messiah within, the Heru within, the divine within. When we make that decision and we start turning the heart, turning our desires inward and towards the divine, we automatically attract the attention of Aset. Aset represents the aspect of the Creator that will bring forth the devotion and the wisdom teachings that we will need to develop strategies to deal with not only our lower nature, but the lower nature in other people. And we have to develop the devotion, because without devotion, we don't do anything. The will not act unless there's devotion. Devotion means that there's an emotional connection, right? So until we feel emotionally connected to the Creator and emotionally connected to this desire to give up all of the lowly things that's keeping us ignorant, right? We hear the word ignorant thrown around throughout the scripture. Ignorant means not in the know, right? Keeping us in the darkness. Until we get sick and tired of that sincerely and we are ready to devote ourselves to the divine, then we won't get the assistance that we need. But once that devotion starts to set in, which is one of the representations of Aset, we will get the help that we need. You will get guided. Whatever you need, it will come to you. If you need teachings on a certain thing, you will find it. It will start to come to you. That is one of the things that Aset is sure to bring to the person that is sincere. And then Sekhmet comes and helps with the protection, right? We are in a world filled with unrighteousness. And some people, with their unrighteousness and their evil, when they see you trying to be a divine light, they will come for you. Right? They will come for you. Sometimes it's your own family members. And it's not always because they are malicious a lot of times it's ignorance, right? So when you start trying to clean up your diet and you say, well, I'm gonna let go some of this meat because it's making me heavy. It's keeping this death energy in me. And you go to family gatherings, right? And you tell them you don't want any meat, they come for you, right? Because they don't know any better. And so when we talk about Sekhmet, we're using her strength, right? Her energy represents strength, the strength to withstand the pressures of the world. And also, when we talk about shooting down enemies, we're not only talking about the enemies external to us. We are primarily talking about the enemies internal, right? So those negative feelings that arise, right? When your family say, you used to eat meat, why you don't eat meat now? You think you're better than us, right? So the arrow shouldn't be pointing towards them. It should be pointing towards your anger. If your anger starts to come up, if you start getting angry over that and you say, I'm not going to any more family gatherings, and you start becoming judgmental of them, then Sekhmet will help you to see that within you so that you can destroy that in you, right? That is where the arrows point first. And then when they must point external, because people are maliciously coming for us, Sekhmet will be there. She's just a call away. she's just a vibrational frequency away. And so that is why we included that reading in this auspicious day. All right, we will move on to the next portion. And now we will recite a prayer to Ra. Duara keft ubenet ima karapadet pehet.
Duara keft ubenet
Anatejra ke itim keparaha.
Anatejra
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Ka ke ubin ke pesimu ke.
Ka ke ubin ke pesimu ke.
Katiem suteneteru.
Katiem suteneteru.
Erinek mutnut awi himerinihinihi.
Erinek mutnut awi himerinihinihi.
Manuem heptep heptu mayatitraha.
Manu heptep heptep man.
Duara keft ubenet ima karapadet pehet.
Duara keft ubenet ima karapadet pehet.
Anatejda ke itim keparaha.
Anatejda ke itim kepara.
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Ka ke ubin ke pesimu ke.
Ka ke ubin ke pesimu ke.
Katiem suteneteru.
Katiem suteneteru.
Erinek mutnut awi himerinihinihi.
Erinek mutnut awi himerinihinihi.
Manuem heptep heptu mayatitraha.
Amihim Hetep Tu Arat RA
Dora keft ubenev ima karapaderim pehet.
Rakep Ubenef
Anatej rake itim keparaha.
Anich Rake ETM Kebada
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Kebada Kema Neteru
Ake ubinke pesimuhu kehe.
Kake Ubinke Pesimuke
Katiem suteneteru.
Matiem Sultaneteru
Erinek mutnut. Awi himerinihi.
Erinet Mutlu Ari Erinini
Manuem heptep heptu mayatitraha.
Manu Hetep Mad Eritra
Dora keft ubenef ima karapaderim pehet. Anatej rake itim keparaha.
Ari was Kiri Unetapera
Kepara ke mam neteru.
Kepera Kemaneteru
Kake ubinke pesimuhu kehe.
Kake Ubinke Pesimuke
Katiem suteneteru.
Moinke Suteneteru
Erinek mutnut. Awi himerinihi.
Erinet Mutnut Arinini
Manuem heptep heptu mayatitra.
Marinet Etep Etep Marat Ariu
Translation. Adorations to Ra when he rises in the eastern horizon. Homage to Ra coming forth is Kepara. Kepara, creator of the gods and goddesses, rising thee, shining thee, lying up thy mother. Rising is king, lord of the Neterit. Your mother Nut does an act of worship to you with both arms. Manu receives thee in peace, and my Ma'at embraces thee in the double season. Give glory, spirit being, to all of the children of Ra. Tap. Next, we will continue with a reading from the Neterit Heru. That is the book that has been misnamed as the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but we like to call it the Book of Coming Forth by Day, because it's the book that gives us instructions on what we should be doing while we are on Earth, preparing for the afterlife. So a lot of Egyptologists, they mistaken the book as the Book of the Dead, and they thought that these were the things that the dead initiates would be doing after they died. But after you die, it's too late. You want to do the work while you have a body, while you have a mind, while you have vices, while you have challenges and opportunities to overcome those challenges. Because once you successfully overcome the lower self in the physical world, because this is the world of challenge, the world of temptation, then you qualify to live in other realms of consciousness. So when you die, you don't have to come back here. You can evolve in realms where people have already evolved past the lower nature, and then you can have new experiences. But until then, according to ancient Kemetic spirituality, if we die and we still have unfulfilled desires in the heart, we get another chance to come back, and we get as many chances as we need to experience those desires, to have them fulfilled, or to grow beyond them, to realize that none of them is exactly what the soul is asking for or needing or wanting. They're illusions. They're like, they're like, what do you call it? They're like, they're fake. They're not the real McCoy. So the real thing that we want to feel fulfilled is remembering who we are and connecting to the supreme divinity, connecting to our creator, the higher self, in the ever-present moment. So I'm going to read this chapter from Mesut Heru. This is chapter 12. These words are to be said by Asar, and you would say your name. I'm going to say by the children of Ra, by the Mesut Ra. May my name be granted to me in the great house. May I remember my name in the house of fire on that night when the years and months are counted. I rest upon the eastern side of heaven. As for any god or goddess that may advance behind me, I say their name as they come forth. And because we are not in a Kemetic state of consciousness, when we hear things like this, it needs to be explained. And so I'm actually going to read the gloss. I'm reading from the Pertim Heru written by Dr. Muwata Ashby. And I have several Pertim Herus, but this is one that I go to when I want to get some more deep, profound understanding, because he has a gloss where he actually expounds on the glyphs, well, the translation of the glyphs. And so I'm going to read that. So he has here gloss on chapter 12, its meaning and mystical significance, and then I'll expound on it. One of the important teachings contained in this chapter is the idea of remembrance. Spiritual enlightenment is not something new that is added to a person. It is a gathering and making whole one's consciousness so as to discover one's true identity as one with the divine. Thus, the initiate ask that they be given their name in the Per-Ah, or great house. The Per-Ah is the abode of the divine self, and only there can we be given one's true name, which is transcendental and unverbalizable. The myth of Aset and Ra explains this mystical point in great detail. Thus, by means of this glorious spiritual discipline of remembrance and invocation for higher knowledge, it is possible for one to become aware of the doorway to eternity, the eastern side of heaven, which is the entranceway for all souls as well as the gods and goddesses. This being so, the knowledge of all beings entering the netherworld is known by the power of one's own remembrance of oneself, which is the essence in all divinities, or Neterit. It must be understood that the eastern side of heaven is also the western side of Ta, or the physical plane. And this is desirable, for it leads to the divine abode. One should not want to go to the eastern side of Ta, because this means reincarnation back into the world. And so I'm going to expound on that a little bit more, break it down, bring it home, make it practical for us. Those of you who listen to my talks, you know that is a part of my work, to take these teachings and make it very practical so that we can utilize them to do the work. And so I want to focus on this construct of remembering, right? Dr. Muwata Ashby talked about that being kind of like a theme, right, in this particular reading. And so what are we trying to remember, right? When we come through the birth canal, when we are born into time and space, that process separates us from all of our memories associated with previous lifetimes, right? And from source, right? How we were even manifested, how we even came from the creator. And so in knowing that, we have to say, well, I'm now in this physical realm. How do I get to remember who I truly am, right? Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? And I actually did some talks on that. And so this particular chapter is saying how we have to undergo the process of realigning ourselves with the Supreme Divinity. And in doing so, we remember who we truly are. And that's the symbolism of getting your true name. That's why it said that the name is unverbalizable, because it's not a name per se, it's a vibration, right? It's emergence. You want to merge with the Supreme Divinity. And then when that happens, you realize who you truly are. And then at the time of death, there is no need for you to come back, right, to the physical plane to continue trying to remember that, because you got it. It's okay if we don't get it in this lifetime, right? We have plenty of lifetimes to get it. So there's no need to rush and put that pressure on ourselves or other people. We just want to be aware of the process. We want to be knowledgeable. We don't want to be ignorant. And so for those who are ready, then the question becomes, what do I need to do to begin to remember? And so this whole construct of Heru is very important, because when we start to focus on Heru, and we understand that Heru is one part of a two-piece, puzzle. So we have Set and we have Heru. Set represents the ego. So when we're born into time and space, the ego is what takes form. The ego is everything we have been told about who we are. Our name, right? So we have the physical name. And then this passage is talking about the need to discover your true name, your spiritual name, right? But when we come into time and space, we identify with the name, our astrological signs, our likes, our dislikes, what city we grew up in, and all that. And we use that to define who we are, but that's all ego-based. None of those things matter when we are transitioning to the next realm. The only thing that matters when we are at that point of transitioning is, did you discover who you truly are, right? If the answer is no, okay, go back and try again, and try again, and try again. And then once that happens, once you discover who you truly are and you get your name, right, metaphorically speaking, then we're allowed to evolve to higher planes of existence. So when we talk about the Neterit, we talk about gods and goddesses and things like that. Those are, higher forms of existence. Even in other traditions, you have Orishas, you have the Abasuns, right? These are higher vibrational frequencies, right? They are not coming back to this realm because they got what they needed from this realm. And so that's what we are trying to do when we are giving birth to Heru, when we are awakening the Messiah in us. And so look at life like this. There's a current flowing downstream, right? It's a very strong current. It's a river. And that's where the masses are. The masses of minds are in this river flowing downstream. And we're in it too. That's what happens when we come into time and space. We all get thrown into this downstream river, right? But this river, this stream is pulling us away from higher consciousness because it's going downstream. It's going towards the earth. It's following the gravitational pull. And so when we decide that we want to know our true name, we want to awaken the Messiah within, we want to awaken Heru, right? It's not something we add, it's something we turn on and tap into. Then we have to find the strength to pull ourselves out of that downstream current, right? And so now imagine you struggle and you pull yourself out of this strong, powerful downstream current. Now you're standing on this nice green pasture. And on the other side of that green pasture, there's another stream, and it's flowing upward. However, that stream is not as vast, right, as the downward stream, but it's extremely powerful. And so we want to get into that current. We want to flow upstream, right? Because when we're flowing upstream, then we're going against everything that is sustaining our lower nature. So how do we bring this home? We want to look at everything in life from these lenses, right? Am I flowing downstream in this present moment, or am I flowing upstream? So let's just say you wake up in the morning and you decide, okay, I'm going to do some spiritual work, some Shetty practices. I'm going to go and practice breathing, clearing my mind, envision myself, in divine glory, whatever it is that you do. You're flowing upstream at that moment, right? Whereas the masses are not doing that. Most people are getting ready for work. They're doing other things that's keeping them flowing downstream, but you're not. So now you're flowing upstream. All right. So now you're done with your spiritual work. You get dressed, you go to work. You get to work, and your boss comes over and starts, coming down on you and yelling at you about something that he claims he told you to do and you didn't do it. Whatever, it don't matter. And now you're feeling angry. You're feeling fearful. You're feeling like I might lose my job. I don't know what I'm going to do if I lose my job. So now you are flowing downstream. You're in that downward movement, right? Which is where most people go. That's the lower vibration, anger, fear. Then you observe your thoughts and you realize I'm flowing downstream. This is not beneficial for me. And so you pull yourself out of the stream and you're on that green pasture in between. And then you say to yourself, all right, I know I'm good. The Creator got me. Aset has me. Ampu and Ampuat, they have me because I am fighting for Heru. I am striving to manifest my higher self. So I know I don't have to be fearful. I don't have to be afraid. Now you start to get clarity. And then you hear, go talk to your boss from a place of peace, right? And you go to your boss. Now you're in the upstream. And you say, I apologize for whatever. And you have this enlightening discussion with your boss, free of emotion, free of fear. And then you reach a resolution, right? So this is just an example of how our life flows. It can be flowing downstream, which represents the lower self and set, or it can be flowing upstream, which represents the higher self, moving away from all of those vices that we talked about in that second great truth, right? And instead staying in a higher vibrational frequency. So what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is when we finally pull ourselves out of that down flowing stream so many times and we manage to put ourselves in the upflowing stream to the point that we never come out of the upflowing stream anymore. Nothing allows us to get back in that downflowing stream. And when that happens, we have mastered the physical universe. We have mastered time and space. We have mastered our lower nature. As simple as that. And so if we take this philosophy and this idea and we approach it to every situation that we're dealing with, just ask yourself, am I flowing downstream with the masses? I am. Okay, how do I pull myself out? And you may need tools, right? This is engaging in this kind of work is a tool. There's so many tools. You use your tools to pull yourself out. The first tool is witnessing consciousness, a moon consciousness, seeing where you are, and then pulling yourself out of the downflow stream, and then figuring out what is required to get in the upflowing stream until we are always flowing upward. One of the things that came from Heru that stayed with Christmas is the colors red and white. And red and white actually symbolizes or is analogous to what I just described, the upstream and the downstream. The red is the downstream. The white is the upstream, right? The white is a lighter color, has less, weight to it. So even something as simple as that powerful symbolism is still associated with Christmas today, red and white. And most people have no idea that it's there to remind us through colors to know what stream we're flowing in and to know how to stay in the flow that's going to keep us balanced, that's going to keep us moving towards the higher self, the tap. And with that, we will move to our final section of today's celebration and observance of Heru, which will be the daily chants. And this is another opportunity for you to participate. If you haven't participated yet, just listen and do the best to just recite what you hear.
Oh, Amun Rapata.
Oh,
Amun Rapata.
Oh, Amun Rapata.
Amun Rapata.
Oh, Amun Rapata.
Oh,
Amun Rapata.
Oh, Amun Rapata.
Amun Rapata.
Oh, Masara Seteru.
Om Saraswati.
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 Oh, Matima Keru.
Om Atima Keru.
Oh, Maatima Keru.
Om Atima Keru.
Oh, Maatima Keru.
Om Atima Keru.
Oh, Maatima Keru.
Om Atima Keru.
Amasu and Panatir. Sauke Su Emna and Panatir. Adu Wanu Wan.
Super Planetary.
Katie Paharu. Amasu and Panatir. Sauke Su Emna and Panatir. Adu Wanu Wan.
I'm a super planetary.
Katie Paharu.
Katie Paharu.
Amasu and Panatir. Sauke Su Emna and Panatir. Adu Wanu Wan.
Anasupanate, Sampanate, Dharma,
Keti Paharu,
Keti Padu,
Amasu Impanete, Sake Su Impanete, Adu Wanuma, Keti Paharu,
Katie Padu,
Petepti, Senete Eri Metua,
Otati Sinete Arimetua,
Petepti, Senete Eri Metua,
Otati Sinete Arimedua,
Petepti, Senete Eri Metua,
Otati Sinete Arimedua,
Petepti, Senete Eri Metua,
Otati Sinete Arimedua,
Duara, 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 get better.
Duara, 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 Kekera.
Duara, 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 get better.
Duara, 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 Kekera.
Duara, 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 get better.
Duara, 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 Kekera.
Duara, 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 get better.
Duara, 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 Kekera.
Dua asa una fenetera.
Duara, Unekara.
Dua asa head up to.
Duara, Kekera.
Dua asa nejepta.
Dua, Kekera.
Dua asa sutin hey.
Duasa sutin hey,
Dua asa una fenetera.
duasa unefenetera,
Dua asa here up to.
duasa heratu,
Dua asar nepjeta.
duasa nejeta,
Dua asar sutin hey.
duasa sutin hey.
Dua asar una fernetera.
Duasa Unekara,
Dua asar herab du.
Dua sahib adu.
Dua asar nebjebta.
Dua sahib jeta.
Dua asar sultan hey.
Dua sahib sultan hey.
Dua asar unafanetara.
Dua sahib jeta.
Dua asar herab du.
Dua sahib adu.
Dua asar nebjeta.
Dua sahib jeta.
Dua asar sultan hey.
Dua sahib sultan hey.
Net net dua net Sefekera sinues.
Duane sepakera sedue.
Net net dua net Sefekera sinues.
Duane sepakera sedue.
Net net dua net Sefekera sinues.
Duane sepakera sedue.
Net net dua net Sefekera sinues. Net net dua net Sefekera sinues.
Duane sepakera sedue.
Dua heteru netrita. Dua heteru netrita. Dua heteru netrita. Dua heteru netrita. Maat angku maat.
Maat aku maat.
Maat nebuten.
Maat nebuten.
Kain maat.
Kain maat.
Angin maat.
Angin maat.
Hasima maat.
Hasil maat.
At angku maat.
Maat aku maat.
Maat nebuten.
Maat nebuten.
Kain maat.
Kain maat.
Angin maat.
Angin maat.
Hasima maat.
Hasil maat.
Ma'at Anku Ma'at.
Ma'at
Ma'at
Anpu Ma'at.
Ma'at Nebuten.
Ma'at
Ma'at
Nebuten.
Kahena Ma'at.
Kahena Ma'at.
Ankena Ma'at.
Ankena Ma'at.
Hasima Ma'at.
Ma'at.
Ma'at Anku Ma'at.
Ma'at Anpu Ma'at.
Ma'at Nebuten.
Ma'at
Nebuten.
Kahena Ma'at. Ankena Ma'at. Hasima Ma'at. Dua Ma'at Nebuten. Dua Ma'at Nebuten. Dua Ma'at Nebuten. Dua Ma'at Nebuten. And now for the English translations. Om Amurabata, the one divine self, manifesting, and the trinity of witnessing consciousness, mind, and the physical universe. Om Asar Aset Heru, the one divine self, manifesting, and the trinity of the divine Father, Mother, and Child. Om Ma'ati Ma'ak Heru, the one divine self, manifesting as the dual goddesses of truth of above and below, heaven and earth, assist me in attaining spiritual enlightenment. Amasu Empanatir, Sao Kesu Emina Empanatir, A Tuanuma, Keti Paharu. Give thyself to the divine, keep thou thyself dearly for the divine, and let tomorrow be as today. Hetepti Neterit Mentuash. An offering is made to propitiate that God may make the vascular system flourish, an invocation of health. Dua Ra, Dua Ra, Dua Ra, Kepera. Adorations to Ra in the form of the Creator. Dua Asar Una Fernetera. Adorations to Asar, pure existence, exalted divinity. Dua Asar Hirt Abdu. Adorations to Asar, innermost essence of Abdu, city of God. Dua Asar Nebjepta. Adorations to Asar, Lord of Forever. Dua Asar Sutane. Adorations to Asar, King of Eternity. Net, Dua Net, Sefekeras Sinuas. Goddess Net. Adorations to Goddess Net. Remove your veil so that I may see your true form. Creation unveiled to see the divine self, i.e., spiritual enlightenment. Dua Heteru Netrita. Adorations to Heteru, the great goddess. Ma'at Anku Ma'at. Ma'at is the source of life. Ma'at Nebuten. Ma'at is in everywhere you are. Kahena Ma'at. Rise in the morning with Ma'at. Ankena Ma'at. Live with Ma'at. Hasima Ma'at. Let every limb join with Ma'at. Let her guide your actions. Dua Ma'at Nebuten. Adorations to Goddess Ma'at, who is in everywhere you are. Hetep.
Hetep. Dua for that. Nefer. And that will bring us very near to the end. We will close with a chant for the aspirants. So the aspirant are those who are aspiring to remember their name, to resurrect and give birth to the higher self. Nuk amasu and pa neter.
Nuk amasu and pa neter.
Nuk aduanuma.
Nuk adua ma.
Nuk kedi pa haru.
Nuk kedi pa haru.
Haru.
I give myself to Ra. I keep myself daily for Ra. And I let tomorrow be as today.
I give myself to Ra. I keep myself daily for Ra.
And I let tomorrow be as
today.
Om Pate 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 Pate. Peace, 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 peace. Tap.
Tap.
That ends our Mesut Heru Uash, which translates as the birthday of Heru, observation or worship. Big joy to all of you who joined. I hope that this helped you, and I hope that it will inspire you to continue on your journey to resurrecting and becoming the Messiah. In the tap to all. Ampu Jasanev, life, vitality, health. Mer, Aki, the tap, love, joy, and inner peace.
Good job.
Tap.